This module has been developed for the Michigan Early Literacy Collaborative Project. The purpose of this module is to support Kindergarten Common Core Standard RFK 1D under concepts of print. According to the Texas Education Agency, children's knowledge of letter names and shapes is a strong predictor of their success in learning to read. Children appear to acquire alphabetic knowledge in a sequence that begins with letter names, then letter shapes, and finally letter sounds. Knowing letter names is strongly related to children's ability to remember the forms of written words and their ability to treat words as a sequence of letters. When beginning to teach the letters of the alphabet, start simple. Do not attempt to teach all 26 letters at once. Assess your students to see which letters they can name and write and determine their rate of fluency with letter naming. Concentrate on a few letters at a time and allow your child to see, hear, and experience that letter in a variety of ways. Remember that children learn by utilizing their senses, so while alphabet books can be a helpful learning tool, you should utilize a number of approaches to teach the ABCs. When teaching letter identification, there is an instructional sequence that can be considered. The prerequisite skills for letter identification include visual discrimination of shapes and differentiating between straight and curved lines. You may begin by teaching uppercase letters. They are easier to discriminate visually than lowercase letters. Most early literacy experiences with print involve uppercase letters, therefore teaching these first will build on students' prior knowledge. When teaching lowercase letters, teach high-frequency letters first. Separate letters that are visually confusing. Ensure students master the first letter prior to introducing a similar letter. After both letters have been mastered individually, provide sorting activities to reinforce the differences between the two letters. Letter formation and printing will reinforce letter identification. When possible, teach letters that are similar to print before more complex letters. When sound spelling instruction does begin, research endorses the use of letter, keyword, and picture displays. Informal but planned instruction in which children have many opportunities to see, play with, and compare letters leads to efficient letter learning. This instruction should include activities in which children learn to identify, name, and write both uppercase and lowercase versions of each letter. Children learn letter names by singing songs such as the alphabet song, by reciting rhymes, watching and listening to videos, and playing interactive games. They learn letter shapes as they play with books, plastic letters, Play-Doh, and read alphabetic books such as Dr. Seuss's ABC. This lesson, titled Letter Match, focuses on the standard RFK 1D with the learning objective that students will be able to recognize and name all upper and lowercase letters of the alphabet. For this lesson, the following materials are needed: upper and lowercase magnetic letters or index cards with letters printed on them. If you choose to extend the lesson, you will need kid-appropriate magazines and different color crayons. The length of this lesson is 15 minutes long. Before completing this lesson, students should have had exposure to all of the upper and lowercase letters in the alphabet. Letter match lesson should be completed with a small group or with an individual student. It should be used later on in the year after students have had exposure to all of upper and lowercase letters. Begin by sitting with students next to you or around you. Give each student a familiar uppercase letter and ask them the name and sound of the letter. Have the students then place their letter with about 5 different letters in the center of the table. Mix up the letters and ask each student to find the letter they just had, saying its name and sound again. Now show the students the lowercase letter that goes with the uppercase letter they have. Say, "These letters have the same name and same sound as the letter you already have." Give students their matching lowercase letter. Have students put their upper and lowercase letters back into the middle of the table and mix them up with 4 or 5 upper and lowercase letters. Ask each student to match their upper and lowercase letter that they first started with. See if the children can tell you the name and sound of the letter. The second part of letter match can be done immediately following the first part or at a different time. In this lesson, you will use multiple colors of the same letter in various sizes of upper and lowercase letters. Scramble all of the students' letters with other letters and have them take turns finding all of any letter you choose. For example, can you find all of the A's? Continue to play this game until your students can match all 26 upper and lowercase letters and tell you their name and sound. There are several lessons and activities that can be used to extend this lesson. One activity is to use kid-appropriate magazines. Rip out and give each student a page with lots of writing on it. Have students find a specific letter and have them color the upper and lowercase letter the same color. Use different colors as you change letters for them to find. Another activity is to have students match upper and lowercase letters and have them tell you the name, sound, and a word that begins with that letter. For your more advanced students, they might be able to write the letter and also write the word. The last activity is to give each student 3 to 5 different letters, and instead of saying the name of the letter, give the sound or word that starts with that letter and see if they can identify the letter. As you are working, students should be engaged in their work, practicing the teaching point and teaching what they have seen demonstrated. As the teacher, you will set the pace of the lesson and can give students as much time as needed to find and identify their letters and sounds. It is now time to wrap up the lesson. In this step, we set up children to transfer the teaching point to their independent learning. As the teacher, you may reinforce by keeping magnetic or index card letters available for student use in small group or independent learning. You may want to end the lesson by naming the teaching point one last time and inviting children to try it on their own. You may say something like, "So students, for every uppercase letter, there is a lowercase letter that goes with it. We will continue to learn our letters." As the teacher, you can assess this task informally by observing students during engagement to make sure each student understands the concept and is doing it correctly. After completing this lesson, there are several resources that provide students the opportunity to continue practicing and mastering this standard.